The sky was clear, no clouds, no wind. It was just another normal morning on Earth. Then, it happened. At exactly 09:01 a.m., all sounds stopped. No birds, no engines, no voices. The wind stopped moving. People looked up, and that's when they saw it. A massive black shape hung in the sky above the clouds. It didn't move. It didn't shine. It looked like a piece of space itself had fallen into the atmosphere. In every country, every city, the same shape appeared above the sky. Giant, silent, cold. At first, people thought it was a satellite. Then, maybe a drone. But as it kept hanging, there, without sound, without light, the fear began to grow. Governments sent jets, but the jets stopped working as they got close, like something had turned off their engines mid-air. Pilots ejected. The planes crashed. Something was very wrong. The world reacts. In Washington, D.C., General Marcus held the phone tight in his hand. "What do you mean it disabled 10 fighters without a shot?" The voice on the other end said, "It didn't fire anything, sir. It just killed the power." Similar reports came from France, Japan, and Brazil. Jets couldn't reach the object. Satellites couldn't scan it. All radar systems went dark when pointed at it. Even nuclear submarines lost connection when they came near the coasts where the object hovered. The object wasn't attacking, but it was shutting Earth down. General Marcus turned to his staff. "This isn't a ship," he said slowly. "It's a warning." In the streets in a quiet town in Norway, a little girl named Elin pointed up. Her father, Joran, held her hand tightly. "It's not moving," she whispered. "No," her father replied, "but it's watching." "How do you know?" He didn't answer, because he didn't know how he knew. But it was true. All across the world, people could feel it. The object didn't speak. But its silence spoke louder than any sound. It was not human. It was not friendly. And worst of all, it was not afraid. The silence deepens. Within hours, the silence grew. Radios died. Internet dropped. Phone networks collapsed. Cars stopped in the middle of highways. Planes landed manually. Power grids flickered. Hospitals went into emergency mode. Generators worked, but only sometimes. And then the stars disappeared. At night, people looked up and saw nothing. No moon, no stars, just the same black shape, floating above. Astronomers screamed in frustration. Telescopes showed only static. Even the sun during day looked dull and cold. Scientists at CERN panicked. "It's affecting light itself," they said, "not just electronics. Reality is bending around it." One physicist fainted after seeing the readings. Another locked himself in a storage room and refused to come out. A signal appears at 11:34 p.m. GMT. A signal came, not in sound, not in light, but in pressure. People across the globe felt it in their heads, like a weight pressing behind their eyes. Then, everywhere at once, a word entered their minds. Observe. That was all. Not a command, not a threat. Just that one word. Some people screamed, some fainted, some ran into the streets. But no matter where they were, everyone heard it. And then, the black shape began to change. It breathed. The ship that breathed all across Earth. The shape expanded slowly, then contracted, like a lung. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't a rock. It was alive. Satellite imagery caught the whole thing, but the images corrupted instantly. The few frames saved showed impossible geometry, shapes that bent space around them, angles that couldn't exist. The shape now looked like a warship made from shadow. Long, thin, with ribs like bones. It had no engines, no weapons, yet every general on Earth knew this thing was built for war, and they had no way to stop it. Global emergency world leaders gathered in secret. The United Nations building had no power, so they met underground. "What do we do?" one president asked. "We Wait, said another. But General Marcus shook his head. We don't wait. We prepare. For what? For whatever comes next. Enter Ray Adams. In a small military base in Australia, a young signal analyst named Ray Adams watched the ship on a small offline monitor. While most tech failed, Ray had built an analog system. No wires, no digital parts. He could still listen, and what he heard was not static. It was music, but not any kind of music known to Earth. It had rhythm, but no pattern. Harmony, but no tone. It was alive, just like the ship. Ray recorded it. Then, using a tuning fork, he tapped the same rhythm on a metal plate. Something strange happened. The black ship responded. It pulsed, then turned, just slightly, toward the signal. Sir, Ray shouted to his commander, I think it hears us. The world watches the next day. All screens worldwide turned on. Old TVs, dead phones, even broken monitors suddenly displayed the same image. Not a threat, not an alien. It was Earth, burning. Skyscrapers fell, oceans boiled, forests turned to ash. The image showed total destruction, but in the bottom corner of the screen were the words, not from us, from you. Then the image disappeared. Panic begin cities erupted in fear. Some called it an alien attack. Others said it was a vision of the future. Protesters filled the streets. People looted, fought, prayed. The ship didn't move. It just watched. Ray Adams looked at the recording again. He tapped the rhythm once more, but this time backwards. The ship pulsed again. Ray sent a message to High Command. It's not just a ship. It's trying to talk, not with words, with frequency, with sound. A final warning: on the third day, Earth went quiet again. No power, no light, only darkness. Then a massive shape appeared above the clouds, closer than before, and then voices, not one, not human, millions of overlapping whispers, all saying the same thing in different languages. You have faced every army, but not us. Prepare. Then, silence, and still. It watched. The ship didn't attack. It didn't leave. It just stayed. Floating, watching, waiting. And the world understood something terrifying. It hadn't come to kill. It had come to judge. The black warship still hung in the sky. 3 days had passed. It didn't speak again. It didn't fire. But it never left. It simply watched. All around the world, the people of Earth waited. Some hoped. Some prepared to fight. Most just feared the unknown. But deep underground, one human had found something. Ray's discovery, Ray Adams, sat alone in a cold, quiet lab. His analog equipment was the only system still working. No computers, no AI, only coils, wires, and tape. He had recorded the strange rhythm again. It wasn't noise. It wasn't just music either. It was a pattern. He tapped it again on a metal plate. Tap. Pause. Tap, tap. Tap. The warship responded. Far above, its surface shimmered for a moment. It was listening. He called General Marcus immediately. I think it's trying to give us a choice. The meeting of minds inside, a hidden bunker in Nevada, world leaders and scientists gathered. Screens showed the massive warship above Earth. General Marcus stood at the front. Ray Adams believes the ship is sending us something, he said. Then why hasn't it spoken again? A prime minister asked. A scientist answered, maybe we already said something it didn't like. Everyone looked confused. She explained, we attacked it. Fired missiles, sent jets. What if that was the wrong move? General Marcus added, it hasn't destroyed us. Maybe that means it's waiting. A quiet voice spoke from the back. Dr. Liana Cross, a young xenolinguist, said, it's not giving us a threat. It's giving us time. Time for what? Someone asked. To decide who we really are, she replied. The gravity event on the 4th day. Something new happened. The warship shifted. No noise, no light. But the gravity on Earth changed. In every country, things lifted into the air, rocks, water, even people. A man in Egypt floated 6 feet high for 5 seconds. A truck in Brazil rose above the road before gently falling back. All machines stopped. Even time felt slower. Then it ended. Back to normal. Just silence again. But scientists around the world saw the truth. This was not an attack. This was communication. It was showing something. The true language of the ship. Dr. Liana Cross studied the recordings. The warship wasn't using words or images. It was speaking in forces, gravity, motion, silence. She spoke with Ray Adams. "If you wanted to speak to ants," she asked, "would you use a voice?" "No," Ray answered. "I'd show them something." "Exactly," she said. "This ship isn't using words. It's showing us what it can do, but it hasn't hurt anyone." Ray leaned forward. "So maybe it's letting us choose." Liana nodded. "Yes, it's waiting to see if we understand." Global split. Earth's government split into 2 groups. One said, "This is our chance. Communicate, learn." The other said, "It's a trap. Prepare for war." Tensions rose. In some countries, armies mobilized. Missiles were armed. In others, peace groups gathered in fields, waving white flags toward the sky. At the center of it all, the warship still didn't move, still didn't speak, still watched. "A test begins." Then came the second message, not in words, but in actions. Over 40 cities across the world reported strange phenomena at the same moment. In Kenya, water turned solid for 10 minutes, then melted back. In Japan, buildings became weightless, then dropped safely. In Iceland, snow fell from clear skies but was warm. Nothing was damaged, no one was hurt, but scientists knew what it meant. The warship was testing Earth, showing power, control, precision. No explosions, no chaos, just perfect manipulation of natural laws, as if to say, "We are capable. Are you?" The general's mistake. In a remote base in Russia, a rogue general saw the events and decided it was a bluff. He ordered a direct missile launch. 4 nuclear warheads shot into the sky, toward the warship. People watched in horror, but the missiles never reached it. Each one stopped mid-air and turned to dust. No explosion, just silence. Then the warship reacted for the first time. Its surface glowed, not red, not white, but colorless. Invisible light pulsed through the atmosphere. All electronics in Russia shut down. Permanently. Cars, power grids, communication, all dead. And then, the warship was still again. The message was clear. "We warned you. You chose." Liana's gamble. Dr. Liana Cross knew they were running out of time. The warship hadn't destroyed Earth yet, but it had shown its power. She had a plan. "I want to speak to it," she told General Marcus. He looked shocked. "How?" "Not with words. With patterns." She held up a small transmitter she built using old radio parts and Ray's help. "If I send it a pattern of peace, maybe it'll understand." General Marcus hesitated. "If you're wrong." "I know," she said softly. "But if I'm right, we survive." The message of peace in an open field under the shadow of the warship. Liana stood alone. Her transmitter hummed. She tapped out a slow, simple rhythm. Heartbeat. 1 beat. Pause. 1 beat. Pause. Then she added 2 beats. Then 4. Then back to 1. A wave. A breath. A life. The warship shimmered again. Everyone watching held their breath. The ship glowed, not white, not black, just soft gray light. It tilted downward, toward her. The ground beneath her shook, but gently. Then, a beam of colorless light surrounded her. She was lifted into the sky and disappeared inside the ship. Global shock cameras. Caught it all, one woman. No armor, no weapons. Taken by the most powerful object Earth had ever seen. No explosion. No warning. Just a quiet choice. The warship had accepted her signal. Now, the world could only wait. Was she a prisoner, a guest, or something else? No one knew. But everyone was watching the sky now and praying the ship wouldn't change its mind. No one had seen her since the light took her. Dr. Liana Cross had stepped forward, sent her message of peace, and the warship responded. Now, she was gone, but not dead. The warship hadn't destroyed her, it had chosen her, and the entire planet watched, waited, and feared what might happen next. Inside the warship, Liana didn't feel pain. She didn't feel fear, just silence. She floated in the air. Around her was not a room but a space, empty but alive. Walls moved like waves. Lights pulsed softly like a heartbeat, and then a voice, not in her ears but inside her mind, spoke. "You are calm." She nodded slowly, unsure if it could see her. The voice came again. Most scream, most fear. "You do not," Liana answered. In her thoughts, "I came to understand." A pause. Few try to understand, many choose fire. Back on Earth, Ray Adams couldn't sleep. He hadn't stopped working since Liana was taken. He kept scanning the signals. He felt something changing. "The ship isn't sending pressure anymore," he said to General Marcus. "What then?" Marcus asked. Ray turned the dials slowly. "It's waiting." For what? For her. The first memory, Liana floated into a new space. This one looked like a field of stars, but they moved like thoughts, not objects. Then, an image appeared, a planet burned black. Cities shattered, oceans gone. She knew it wasn't Earth. The voice spoke again. "We watched them, we warned them, they fired, we ended them." Liana felt cold. "You destroyed them? We stopped them. After they stopped listening." She asked, "Will you do the same to us?" The voice did not answer. Instead, it showed her Earth, and then showed two versions, one peaceful, one burning. "The choice is still yours." "The world divides," governments argued. "She's been gone too long," said one military leader. "It's a trap." "She's still alive," said Ray. "If the ship wanted to attack, it would have done it already. We should strike first." "No," General Marcus shouted. The room went silent. He stepped forward. "If one human can be chosen, maybe more can learn. Maybe this is not war. Maybe this is a test." Inside the mind of the ship, Liana now stood on a floor of smooth glass. In front of her was a figure, not alien, not human, just light in a human shape. "You look like me," she said. The figure spoke with many voices at once. "We take the form you understand. Your species responds to faces." "Why me?" "Because you stepped forward." Liana looked around. "What are you really?" "We are called many things, but we are not gods, not rulers, just survivors." "Of what?" "Of war, the kind you are heading toward." "A lesson in fire." The figure raised its hand. Around Liana, a simulation began. She saw Earth, peaceful, bright. Then a flash. Explosions, fights, cities destroyed. But it wasn't alien invasion, it was humans fighting each other. "We saw this pattern on hundreds of worlds," the voice said. "Civilizations that grew strong, but never wise." "And then what?" Liana asked. "They collapsed," the figure answered, "or they tried to conquer others." "Did you destroy them too?" "No. Some destroyed themselves. Others we ended." The second choice back in the real world, the ship began to glow again. This time it pulsed 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. Ray recognized the pattern. He rushed to the broadcast center. "It's calling us," he shouted. "The same signal Liana used. It's answering it." General Marcus turned to the technicians, broadcast it to the world. Within minutes, every screen, phones, old TVs, even broken devices, lit up, and a message appeared. One spoke. Another must decide. One more step forward. The volunteer Rai Adams knew it had to be him. He was the one who discovered the pattern, the one who never gave up. He stepped forward in front of the military base. "I'll go." People stared in shock. "You're not trained," someone yelled. "You're not a soldier," another said. "I'm a listener," Ray replied. "The ship doesn't want weapons, it wants understanding." Lifted Ray stood in the open field where Liana had once vanished. He tapped the same signal. Heartbeat, breath, peace. The warship shimmered again. The sky turned silver, then slowly a beam of light surrounded him. He floated up and vanished. Reunion inside the warship. Ray opened his eyes. Liana stood there. She smiled. "I knew they'd send you," he smiled back. "I didn't wait for them to decide." The glowing figure returned. "You are different," it said. "You are not leaders, not warriors, but you choose to listen." Liana looked at Ray. "Maybe that's what Earth needs now. Fewer orders, more understanding." Final test. The figure raised its hands. A screen of light appeared. It showed Earth again, but now, people making choices. In one version, missiles flew. In another, bridges were built. The figure spoke. "This is your test. One choice creates peace. One brings fire. We will not decide. You will." Ray asked, "What happens if we fail?" The voice was calm. "Then we leave. And what follows is no longer our concern." The returned Liana and Ray were sent back. 2 beams of soft light lowered them onto the Earth. Cameras caught it. Crowds gathered. People watched the 2 step forward from the light, alive, changed, and with a message. They spoke. General Marcus met them at the base. "What did you see?" he asked. Ray answered softly. 2 futures. Liana added, "One we choose together, the other ends everything." "They want us to listen," Ray said, "and choose before it's too late." 2 humans had entered the ship. 2 humans had returned, but they were not the same. Their eyes held something the world couldn't understand. They had seen power, they had seen futures, and they had seen a warning Earth still refused to hear. The announcement. Liana and Ray stood before the world. Cameras flashed. Leaders waited. The warship hovered in the sky, silent again. Then Liana spoke. "They gave us a gift," she said. Ray added, "But it wasn't what we expected." "A weapon?" a general asked. "No," Ray replied. "A chance." Liana stepped forward. "They gave us knowledge, not just about them, but about ourselves. The world didn't understand, and many didn't want to." The gift. Later that night, something strange happened. A small sphere of light descended from the warship. It floated silently through the clouds, glowing with soft blue pulses. It stopped, above the Pacific Ocean, just outside international waters. It hovered there, then lowered slowly into the waves. Satellites watched, navies surrounded it, but no one touched it. Then the message came, across every device, every screen: "Do not take. Do not fight, only accept when you are ready." The sphere's power. A small drone was sent in by a private group. It scanned the sphere. The reading shocked every scientist. Inside the sphere was clean, unlimited energy, a power source far beyond fusion or solar, enough to light up an entire continent forever. It didn't burn, it didn't pollute, it simply gave. Humanity had begged for energy for centuries. Now, it had arrived. But the warship's warning was clear: do not take. Not yet. The debate. The world split again. Some leaders shouted, "It's a trick. They want to control us." Others whispered, "It's hope. Real hope. Inside private rooms, arguments turned into threats. Countries moved their fleets closer to the sphere. One admiral said, "If we don't take it, someone else will." General Marcus tried to speak reason. They gave it. But they also gave a rule. Do not touch until we are ready. The greedy move. Then it happened. A powerful nation sent a stealth submarine beneath the waves. It ignored the warnings. Its goal, take the sphere and bring it home. Ray and Liana tried to stop them. No one is ready, Ray warned. Liana added, the ship is watching, but no one listened. The sub reached the sphere. It attached magnetic arms. The sphere didn't resist. It allowed itself to be pulled upward. The sub celebrated. But they didn't realize the test had already begun. The silent punishment. As the sub surfaced, something changed. The water beneath it turned black. The sky above it turned gray. Waves grew still. Too still. Then, the sub's engines died. Every system went dark. The people inside screamed, but no sound left their mouths. Time inside. The vessel froze. From the shore, nothing could be seen, but the warship blinked once, and then... The sphere dropped back into the ocean on its own. It glowed brighter, alive, untouched. But the submarine was gone. No wreckage, no radio, no trace. Just silence. The world reacts. Panic spread fast. People called the warship a monster. Protests rose. News channels screamed betrayal, but Liana stood before the cameras again. They didn't destroy us, she said. They punished those who didn't listen. They told us this gift wasn't free. Ray added, it's a test of character, not power. The lesson the next night, the warship sent another message. This time, only 3 words appeared across the planet. You were warned. General Marcus gathered scientists and leaders in the bunker. He played a recording of Ray's first discovery. Tap, pause, tap, tap. The message was the same. They had never hidden their rules. It was humanity that refused to hear. Doubt grows people. Turned on each other. Some said, destroy the ship before it destroys us. Others said, fall to your knees, beg forgiveness. Liana watched from her window. She whispered to herself, we weren't ready. Not for them. Not for this. Ray sat nearby, staring at a globe. They gave a gift to children holding matches, he said. And now the house is starting to burn. The gift returns. 3 days later, the sphere rose again from the ocean, glowing, untouched. And once again, the message returned. The gift remains. The test remains. You are not punished yet. People were confused. Why return the gift? Why not take it back? Why still offer kindness to those who failed? Ray realized something. They're not like us. What do you mean? Liana asked. They don't act out of anger or pride. They act out of purpose. They're teaching, not ruling. A quiet message. That night, Liana recorded her own message. She used Ray's analog transmitter. She sent it toward the ship, a soft rhythm. Heartbeat, breath, regret. She spoke into the mic. We failed the first test, but not all of us did. Some of us are learning. Please don't give up on us yet. The response, the warship shimmered once more, and across the earth, lights returned. Cities that had lost power during the submarine event lit up, communication lines restored. Water began to flow clean again in areas long dried. No message followed, but the meaning was clear. The gift was still being offered, but only if Earth changed. For days the warship remained silent. The glowing sphere floated quietly above the ocean. No more messages came, no more warnings, just silence. But deep inside every human heart, something had started to change. The first apology. Liana stood before the cameras once again. This time there was no anger in the room, no shouts, only listening. "I was there," she said. "I saw what they showed me. I saw Earth in two futures, one destroyed, one reborn. We failed their first test, but we were not destroyed." Ray added, "They are not here to conquer. They are here to show us who we truly are. They already know what happens when power is given too soon." Strange signals. A team of engineers picked up new signals from the warship. They weren't messages, they were memories. Short, flickering bursts of sound and light, images of other worlds, some green and full of life, others burning, cracked, floating. In space like broken bones, one image stayed the longest, a planet. Beautiful, blue with rings around it, and then, gone. Exploded from within. The message was silent, but clear. This could be you. A storm like no other. The next day, the sky began to change. It started with soft colors, violet and silver. Clouds curling in patterns never seen before. Then came thunder. But not the usual kind. It was not natural. It echoed from the stars. The clouds above Earth parted, split wide like a curtain, and something beyond them was finally revealed. The sky broke. Open above Earth floated more than just one warship. There were hundreds, thousands, all silent, all glowing, all waiting. They had been there the whole time, just invisible. Now they revealed themselves. Across every continent, people looked up and froze. Some dropped to their knees, others wept. Even world leaders, so full of power and pride, stood helpless. The truth was undeniable now. Earth had been watched for centuries, and it was not alone. The unified broadcast, all screens across the world lit up again. This time not just with words, but with faces, alien faces, dozens of species, different, strange, but peaceful. One by one they spoke, translated into every language. "We were once like you. We destroyed, we fought, we burned our homes. But we changed, because of them." Then a new face appeared. Liana gasped. It was the glowing figure from inside the warship. It spoke only one sentence. "You are at the turning point now." Humanity breaks. The truth shattered illusions. Some people refused to believe. They called it lies, a trick. But most simply stared into the sky, silent. They finally understood. All this time they thought they were strong, advanced, wise. But now, Earth looked like a child, throwing stones at giants who came offering bread. Inside the UN chamber, the United Nations held an emergency meeting. This time, the flags of Earth were not behind the speaker. Instead, a large screen showed the face of the glowing being. "General." Marcus stood up slowly. He spoke clearly. "No more weapons, no more lies. We ask for one thing now. Guidance." The gift expands. Suddenly more spheres appeared. Not just one, but dozens. Each one floated to different regions of Earth. Africa, South America, Asia, the Arctic. Island nations long ignored. They did not fall into the hands of the rich or powerful. They landed where need was greatest, and once again, the message came. You are ready only if you choose to share. First use of the gift. One village in Central Africa was the first to accept the sphere's energy. A group of scientists, doctors, and children stood around it. They didn't try to break it or claim it. They simply asked for help. The sphere opened. Light poured out. Machines powered up. Water flowed. Crops began to grow. A hospital turned on for the first time, and above them, one of the warships blinked green. Ray smiled when he saw the satellite footage. "They're watching the ones who give," he whispered. Global shift. In just a few weeks, everything began to change. Instead of fighting over the spheres, countries began sharing access. Former enemies built bridges. Armies helped build instead of destroy. People once forgotten now had voices, all because they finally listened. The warships did nothing. They simply observed. And as Earth changed, they slowly began to fade from the sky. One last test, but peace is never simple. A rogue group, a small global elite, decided to capture one of the spheres and reverse engineer it. They wanted to sell power, profit from the gift. The moment they touched it with force, the skies cracked with thunder again. Their building collapsed in light. They vanished, without sound, without trace. Only one sentence appeared on every screen. You are not yet perfect. But now, you understand. Earth's choice General Marcus stood once more before the world. This isn't the end, he said. This is our beginning. Liana stood beside him. Ray, too. All three had seen the future. And now, the world saw it too. The sky was open. The path was clear, and Earth finally understood. Power is not what saves you. Understanding is. Earth had begun to change. The warship still floated above, quiet and unmoving. The energy spheres were now spread across the world, glowing peacefully. For the first time, nations were not fighting over land, but working to share power. But greed never truly dies, and some men just couldn't help themselves. They looked at the alien gift and asked the wrong question. How can we own this? The secret project in a hidden underground lab, far from cameras or satellites, a small group of scientists worked day and night. Their mission was clear: copy the alien sphere. They had no approval from governments, only money and silence. The B lab was protected by soldiers and machines. No one could get in. No one knew what they were doing, except the warships. They knew. Breaking the gift, the group took one of the smaller spheres that had been secretly stolen from a refugee camp. They cut it open using plasma drills. At first, nothing happened. Then the light inside dimmed. The scientists cheered. "We shut it down," one of them said. "Now we can study it." They didn't see what appeared on the wall behind them. A single word. Glowing red. Why? The surge within seconds, the entire lab began to shake. The lights flickered. The air turned cold. Every electronic device exploded. With static. A deep hum filled the ground, as if something ancient had been awakened. The soldiers outside looked to the sky. A single warship, one of the oldest, largest, turned. And for the first time in history, it moved. The sky speaks across Earth. Every warship remained silent, except that one. It hovered above the secret base. Its hull glowed a deep, angry crimson. Then came the voice. A voice that wasn't male or female, not loud or soft, just final. You were given what you could not make, and you tried to break it. This is your last warning. The consequence before anyone could respond, the lab vanished. Not exploded, not crushed, just erased. The ground where the lab had been was now flat, clean, not even dust remained. The soldiers standing outside were untouched. But they had seen it, and they would never forget it. Earth reacts. The world shook. Panic returned. Was this the end? Was this the first attack? But the warship didn't strike again. It simply returned to its position, silent, waiting. Ray stepped forward once more, facing the global cameras. "This wasn't an attack," he said. "This was a message. We still don't deserve this." The true meaning Liana met with survivors of the nearby village. They had seen the sky glow red. They had felt the ground hum, but they were not harmed. One old woman spoke through tears. "They are not just teaching us. They are watching who listens." Liana nodded. "Some are still deaf." The second attempt, despite the warning. Another powerful group, this time a coalition of rich technocrats, met in secret. "We must understand how the spheres work," one man said. "If we can copy them, we don't need to rely on alien mercy." They built a machine. They called it the reflector. Its purpose, scan and mimic the energy field of a sphere. It launched one night from a private station. Within minutes, the sky turned black. No clouds, no stars, just emptiness. Then came the voice. Again. Twice you have disobeyed. The next time, you will not recover. The great silence. Suddenly all warships disappeared from the sky, not just cloaked, gone. The spheres dimmed one by one. No more power flowed. Hospitals shut down. Water pumps froze. Farms fell silent, and Earth felt the silence of being alone. Again, the collapse begins. Without the alien energy, the world panicked. Riots began, fights over food and water returned. Old wars threatened to rise again, and this time there was no warship above to stop them. Leaders begged for forgiveness. Children cried, asking why the lights were gone. Ray stared at the night sky, whispering, "They gave us everything, and we broke it." A child's voice in a small village in India, a girl named Maya walked to the dimmed sphere. She knelt before it. Her hands were dirty, her clothes torn. She didn't speak in science or politics. She just whispered, "We're sorry." And then she sang. A soft tune her mother used to sing to her when the world was kind. The sphere didn't light up, but something far above did. The return, in the sky, a single light appeared. Then another. Then hundreds. The warships came back, not angry, not loud, just present. The sphere before Maya pulsed once, a single warm glow, and slowly the energy returned. First to the village, then to nearby regions, not all at once, but carefully. Earth hears, again, the message came. One voice of truth can restore what millions of lies break. Across Earth, the energy was given only to those who had shared before. Hospitals that had treated others freely, communities that had protected the spheres, people who had chosen kindness over control. For the rest, silence remained. This wasn't revenge. This was balance. Final warning. The warships lit up with a final message across every sky. You do not get 3 warnings. You get understanding or extinction. Liana wrote those words down. Then she burned every copy of the blueprints stolen from the sphere. Ray destroyed the scanning equipment, and General Marcus ordered every unauthorized project shut down, by force if needed. Humanity had finally understood this wasn't technology, this was a test of the soul. The warships had returned, but not like before. They hovered closer now, just above clouds, silent but near. The energy spheres pulsed gently across the planet. But the message was clear. Earth was still under test. And then, one human stood up and asked a question no one else dared to speak aloud, and everything changed. The forgotten city, in the mountain ranges of South America, there was a small city called Quera. It had no advanced tech, no modern defenses. But the people there had protected their sphere with care. They didn't try to own it. They didn't fear it. They treated it like a guest. And so their power never dimmed. The man named Tomas was a teacher in Quera. He wasn't a scientist. He didn't work for any government. He taught children how to read, how to grow food, and how to stay kind. But every night, he would stare at the glowing warship above the mountains. And he would whisper to himself, "What do they truly want from us?" One morning, he finally said it out loud. The Climb Thomas packed a small bag. He left his house, walked past the school, and began to climb the mountain. People called after him. "Where are you going?" "To ask a question," he said. They laughed gently. "They don't listen to one man." He smiled. "Maybe they do." Face to face, after hours of walking, he reached a cliff just below the hovering warship. The air was still. No guards, no machines, just silence. He looked up at the massive ship, glowing softly, unmoving, and then he raised his voice. I don't want your power. I don't want your technology. I only want to know what broke you. Why are you afraid to trust us fully? His words echoed through the valley, and for a long time nothing happened. Then, the warship moved, the ship lowers. For the first time in human history, a warship began to descend. Slowly, gently. It hovered just meters above the ground. People across the world saw it. Satellites captured it. The world stopped. A warship, responding to one human. The voice returns. A beam of light reached out from the ship and touched the rock near Tomas. It didn't burn. It hummed softly. Then a voice spoke, not through speakers, not through screens, but directly into Tomas's mind. You asked what broke us. You did. The great pain images flashed before Tomas's eyes. Worlds once filled with life, now destroyed. Civilizations that had once received the gift and turned it into weapons. Entire star systems, burned by greed, species that grew too fast and collapsed under their own hunger for power. Tomas fell to his knees. His heart ached. I'm sorry, he whispered. We are not them. The voice returned. You are not yet different, but you can be. A new request. Tomas stood again, and then he asked the question that shocked even the watchers. Then let us help you. Not with science, not with war, but with who we are. Let us heal what you lost. The voice was silent. Then a soft sound echoed across the valley. Not words, music, sad and beautiful. The shared grief around the world, the other. Warships began to hum the same tone. The energy spheres flickered in rhythm. Children stopped in playgrounds. Old men dropped their canes. Everyone felt it. Sadness that didn't come from Earth. A grief older than any human war. A loss beyond stars. Humanity had always thought they were the weak ones. Now they saw the truth. The warships weren't protectors. They were survivors. A global response when the world learned what Tomas had asked. Something shifted. People didn't beg for more power. They didn't ask for weapons. Instead, they sent messages. How can we help you? Not just scientists, but artists, teachers, poets, farmers, nurses. They offered themselves not as soldiers, but as friends. The first return, gift in a desert near Egypt, a warship lowered a panel to the ground. Inside were seeds, not just plant seeds, but cultural seeds, books, music, instruments, stories from species long extinct. It was a gesture. Way of saying, we trust you. Try not to forget them. Tomas returns. Tomas walked back down the mountain. He didn't return with treasure. He returned with truth. And when he entered the classroom again, the children stood up and clapped. Did you win? One boy asked. No, Tomas said softly. But I listened, and they heard. The shift in the skies, the warships began to lower themselves closer to human cities. They didn't land, but they no longer hid in clouds. Their lights turned blue, a sign of peace. And when someone tried to fire a missile at one out of fear, I simply caught it in midair and returned it, unharmed. No more warnings, only quiet reminders. We are not here to destroy. We are here to see who you become. The true test begins. Liana, Ray, and General Marcus all stood before the world. Once more, this time, they had no answers, only a new purpose. We're not just being watched anymore, Liana said. We're being invited. Ray nodded. Not into war, but into healing. General Marcus said the words few expected. I was trained to prepare for alien war, but now I prepare for peace. Earth unites, not in fear, but in purpose. Across the world, walls were taken down, not by force, but by will. Nations shared food, stories, and voices. People painted murals of the glowing ships. Children named them. Villagers sang to them at night. A new word began. to spread in every language. Hope. One final message as night fell over Earth. Every warship blinked once. The sky lit up with one final message, written in stars, glowing across every continent. Your question changed everything. Keep asking, keep listening. The real test begins now. The skies had changed. The warships once feared now floated quietly above cities. Their lights glowed calm blue. People no longer screamed when they saw them. Instead, they looked up and smiled. But then, on a quiet morning, every ship blinked. Once, then twice, and a signal, unlike any before, echoed across the stars. A signal not just for Earth, but for the galaxy. The day the sky spoke. The signal came as a pulse of light. Every energy sphere lit up at the same time. Every screen on Earth turned black, then displayed one simple sentence: ready yourselves. The message was in every language, but no one understood what it meant. Was it a warning, a gift, or something else? The council gathers. For the first time in human history, all major leaders stood in one room. The United Council was formed, not just to speak, but to listen. Ray stood before the crowd. I believe the warships are not alone, he said. Liana nodded. That signal, it wasn't just for us. Others heard it too. General Marcus added, and whatever is coming will test everything we've become. The Visitor. 2 days later, a warship lowered a ramp. People across the world watched, but no alien walked out. Instead, a light floated forward. A shape formed inside it. Not a body, not a face, just a presence, and it spoke, not in sound, but in feeling. The time has come to decide if you will stand alone or with others. The choice. The presence revealed the truth. The warships were only scouts, watchers, messengers. They were not the creators of the spheres. They were only the last survivors of a long-fallen alliance. The original builders, the ones who gave the gift, were long gone, but their message lived on. And now, others had heard Earth's response, good ones and dangerous ones. The warning, another signal followed. This time, not from the warships, but from deep space, a dark signal, cold, repeating one phrase. The fire returns. The planet is marked. The Psi presence turned to the sky and said, you are not the only ones being watched. The destroyers heard your light. Now they come to take it. The final decision. The presence spoke again. You have two paths, run and hide, or rise and stand with us. Humanity had one chance to become something more, not a protected world, but a protector. A voice in the great galactic silence. The preparation. The warships opened, for the first time, access to training systems, not for soldiers, but for builders, teachers and diplomats. The true warriors of the future were not those who fired first, but those who understood first. Earth's brightest minds entered the floating ships to learn, not just about weapons, but about peace, about how to lead without fear. Tomas's new journey. Tomas was chosen to join the first Council of Peace, not because he had power, but because he had asked the question that changed the sky. He sat beside alien survivors, ship minds, and others who had passed the test. When asked what humanity should do, he said, give more than we take. Help more than we ask. Speak only when we've listened. The arrival then. The stars bent, and from beyond the dark regions of space, a new shape appeared, massive, silent, black as shadow, not like the warships, colder, hungrier. The destroyers had arrived, not to learn, not to ask, but to consume. The stand humanity stood, side by side with the Watchers. Earth had no giant fleets, no death rays, but it had courage and it had truth. When the destroyers sent their first dark wave toward Earth, every warship lit up red, not in anger, but in unity. Then, from Earth, A beam of blue light shot into the sky. It wasn't a weapon. It was a message. We are not what you think. We are not alone anymore. The pushback, the destroyers, tried to corrupt the spheres. They failed, tried to bend Earth's will, but found it stronger than expected. For the first time in eons, the destroyers paused. They scanned Earth again. They saw humans standing without fear. They saw unity. They saw potential. And for the first time, the destroyers turned back. Not because they were defeated, but because Earth was no longer prey. The aftermath. The warships stayed above. But now, they opened fully to humans. Not as guards, but as partners. Earth began to send its own people outward, to help other worlds, to teach, to protect, to remind the galaxy that light could rise even from dust. The new title across the galaxy, Earth became known by a new name, the planet that listened. It was not feared, it was respected. And for the first time in galactic memory, humans were not the last to arrive. They were the first to answer. The final signal years later, a final message appeared in the sky. Every warship, every sphere, every screen glowed once more. The words were simple. The test is complete. You are ready. And just like that, the warships vanished, not destroyed, not stolen, just released. Their mission was done, and now Earth's mission had begun. Epilogue. The Child and the Star in a quiet village, a young girl stood beneath the stars. She held a book filled with alien symbols and human stories. Her father pointed to the sky and said, "That is where we help turn fear into friendship." The girl smiled and whispered, "What will we listen to next?" And high above, a single star blinked in response.